At this point, we're going to bring in our resident, lest we forget, commentator who is Kabando. Kabando joins us on the phone this morning. He was there, and I don't know what Rania did to him, or Eve did to him. Now he has disappeared. But there he is. Let's get him back and say hello and good morning. Kabando, good morning.
Good morning to you all.
How are you doing?
We are doing fine.
Thank you for always joining us Friday morning to be able to look through the week and remind us about things that we ought not to forget. The week has been long. We're only on the 11th. We started on the 7th with Sabasaba demonstrations, and by Wednesday, 31 Kenyans had already died. And there are things that we ought to remember. And in the same week, we heard from the president where he said, don't hesitate to shoot because we cannot have this kind of wanton destruction. The next day, we heard the head of the Defense Committee of Parliament, Member of Parliament for Belbugut constituency, Nelson Koech, say, no, don't just shoot to maim, shoot to kill. These are things that we're hearing every day. And, we had a conversation yesterday morning after the show, and we said, guys, we are finding ourselves in the middle of so much death, destruction stories. Can we do something else? And the question was, what do you do if that's what feeds you front and center? Can we run away from these realities, Kabando?
Thank you very much, SpiceFM, for having me again. And we are happy and proud to be associated. Where we are today leads us to pose a big question. Is a social contract between the governed and the delegated authority, that is, between the people and the governors of the Republic of Kenya, still valid and solid? The Constitution describes a republic or a place, even small clubs, the rules, the bylaws, what you are supposed to abide. Now, the Constitution of Kenya is very clear from Article 1 to even the schedules of implementation of what needs to be done. And the Bill of Rights, Chapter 4, was not imposed. It was something negotiated over very, very many years. There were many conferences, there were many forums and agencies that led to Kenya being celebrated as having a very progressive constitution in the world, particularly in the Bill of Rights. The very fact that there is transgression, there is violation of the Bill of Rights, the whole Chapter 4 of the Constitution of Kenya, and being the constitution that we give ourselves and to posterity as very well pronounced therein, means that there is a doubt now as to whether those contracted in the executive through elections that are conducted democratically, and the delegated agencies, the constitutional commissions, the agencies of security like the National Police Service, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, the National Intelligence Service, and so on and so forth, that there is now a violation where you have the President of the Republic of Kenya, the embodiment of sovereignty, who is supposed to be the parent of the nation, who is supposed to be the symbol of the unity of the people of the Republic of Kenya in their diversity. And diversity means their status economically, their geographical locations or residences, their ethnicities, the political ideologies, differences, and so on and so forth. But now, that very position that is supposed to show and exemplify maturity and unity, and to inspire the Republic of Kenya as a republic that can competitively place its bid among the civilized community of nations, is very much in doubt. And everywhere you go, without any exaggeration, and with all due respect to the office of the presidency, literally, except the political surrogates or those who are benefiting from the legacy or the benefits of the state, everybody, even those who may be working within the presidency are now in doubt as to whether that office is representing the ultimate, the solid and the foundational interests of the people of Kenya. When the president says verbally and in the public that the police have a right, he is giving a directive as the commander-in-chief of all the security forces in the republic that they can shoot. Then the minister who is mandated to preside over the docket of security in Kenya also says publicly that anyone around a police station, whether armed or unarmed, because there was no qualification of it, should be shot. And yesterday, Parliament is supposed to preside over oversight. It's supposed to check. They're supposed to check the excesses of the executive. The chairman of the Committee of Defense and Foreign Relations, and there's a deliberate intention to put foreign relations because foreign affairs also comprise a lot of defense issues, security issues, issues of espionage for the republic. Again, said yesterday that he supposed the president call on the police to shoot a leg of protesters, but he even escalated and said, but himself, the chairman of defense of the National Assembly Committee, would wish that the shots are to kill. Now, you have the president, the commander-in-chief, you have the chairman of defense of the National Assembly, whose work is to interrogate and checkmate the Kenya Defense Forces and even the National Intelligence Service, and then you have the Minister of Interior. This is what you can describe as face of impunity. The Ministry of the Interior, Security, State House itself, and now Parliament. There is a violation of Article 1 of the Constitution, where the social contract between the people and their employees, those who are the representatives, are supposed to be in synergy and are supposed to be in harmony in terms of the intentions of where the country is going. And now that brings us to the bigger question to that. That indeed, that article that was deliberately put there that the supreme authority of the people overrides their representatives and people can exercise that authority directly, leads us to one template or one space that when people are disregarded, people are completely violated by the people who have been placed in authority. The people can resort to civil disobedience. And civil disobedience, there is the intention to put civil. Civil represents decent, it represents the people. And therefore, when people are violated and they are oppressed to the extent that they are barricaded, not to access certain places to non-violently express themselves, then they are not helpless. People can force. There can be a recall of members of parliament. There can be impeachment of the president. But where all the avenues, parliament has been hijacked, as you are seeing increasingly, it means that now the authority of the people must be recalled from those that they have delegated.
Kabando, sorry, I just want to ask you because it's interesting because even as you say this, then there was a response from the people of Kenya. I mean, look at what happened earlier in the week. So Monday was Sabasaba, Tuesday, and then there was a lot of tribal innuendo that was then put out that, we're seeing these protests as a result of tribalism, and everybody banded together and they said, come on, how do you say that it is a Kikuyu thing? We're all Kikuyu. The president then came out on Wednesday and said what he said. And by Thursday, everybody came out and said, you know what? Shoot all of us. Maim all of us. Let us come out on one leg only. But in this thing, we are still all together. as we talk about things that we ought not to forget, even as you so beautifully painted this picture of the different levels where it seems as though there is a frontal attack on the people of Kenya and their sovereignty when it comes to constitutionalism. Here we are where the people are banding together that it doesn't matter what you throw at them. They are coming together to say we are still on the same page and we are still together, regardless of tribe, in this case, regardless of whether you have one limb or not. How do we see that?
Now, that is actually a statement potently put by the diversity of and the oneness of the people of this motherland that we have bequeathed ourselves as a blessing from Almighty of all creation. That when now you are isolated, like you saw the president himself, when he spoke in response to the narratives that were being propelled by his sycophants and people who are becoming scared by the uprising of the people. And uprising, I mean physical protest, voicing of the concerns and the statement of grievances. President Ruto said that he is wondering why he is being criticized. He is being told must go. Why there is so much anger against him. And he tried to profile the Gikuyu community by saying that it did not happen during Uhuru time and it did not happen during Kibaki time. Truly, if you have lived in this world, and particularly if you have been lucky to live in Kenya, you know Kibaki faced a lot of protests, even disagreements, even from people who are in his government and parliament. And there was even a showdown in November 2005 in a referendum, and he was sadly defeated by a team in which Ruto was a very prominent player. The origins against the Kibaki's team of bananas. Biggest protest ever of a president being given a vote of no confidence until he dissolved his cabinet. Who doesn't remember that there are so many protests against Uhuru Kenyatta and many grievances? There are motions in parliament. There are demonstrations in Nairobi. To the extent that even in 2016, a special committee to reconcile the issues of the court then, the Coalition of Restoration of Democracy and the Jubilee Coalition had to be put together, co-chaired by James Orengo and Kiraito Murungi. Uhuru faced the biggest humiliation of an incumbent president being defeated while he was with the vice president and he was with the former prime minister and with the state resources on the 9th of August 2022. That defeat was as a result of Ruto's vigorous campaign against the president, even as he served as a deputy president. Therefore, what is happening today is that people are making a statement. Can you see what is trending today? Still, the hashtag "We Are All Kikuyus" is top trending. Another top trending topic is Free Maiyo. This young man was arrested for only going to YouTube, to TikTok, and voicing concerns about violations of the police conduct and even the constitution. And just because of that, he is arrested. And the Directorate of Criminal Investigation says, we have arrested this person for incitement. Inciting who? What the president is failing to understand and to know is that the anger is so deep. The bitterness is so entrenched. And the frustration is unapologetic because at every turn he has given a lie. Another turn,
Kabando,
he has given a propaganda.
At every turn that president has given a lie. Let's just go back to during the campaigns as he was vying to be the president. And one of the things he said was, we have seen a lot of revival, and in my government, there will be no police brutality. Now, come to his government, and that it's seen being entrenched even more. And when the broad-based government came together, one of the agenda items on the table, top of it was to end police brutality and justice to Kenyans. Now, when you hear the minister say, give a shoot to order kill, the president saying, do not kill, just shoot the legs. And then again, you hear the defense chairperson saying, don't even just shoot the legs, shoot to kill, because such people do deserve to be killed. But then you read the Constitution as well in terms of the right to picket. It is a right in the Constitution. Right of movement, Article 39, it is a right entrenched in the Constitution. But everything is being done to curtail all these rights, which begs the question, does the leadership, the president, the minister, and everyone who surrounds the president think that they are above the law?
Now, they do believe they are above the law if we go by every action, by every statement. For instance, without prejudice, the chair of Defense Committee of the National Assembly has been implicated in controversial transactions, including Gong Forest grabbing, and I dare say that it is in public domain. Again, you remember, before he was taken to transport, and now in the interior, Murkomen was in transport. And part of what infuriated the Gen Z revolution of last year, the uprising of June 25th, was because of the impunities exemplified by cabinet secretaries, and Murkomen ranked among those that were very much infuriating and causing a lot of discontent in the country. Now, it simply shows that these are cases of impunity. And every rule, let me repeat, President Ruto has broken every promise he gave, whether it is university funding models, whether it is about reforming the police force, whether it's about stopping extrajudicial killings, whether it's about abductions. He has even, in the presence of a visiting head of state, at the State House itself, said that all those who were abducted last year have been returned to their families. Now, when you have a head of state who is also the head of government and the commander-in-chief of security forces giving a decree or an edict that the police should do this, well, just a few days before, and many months before, he had said he has nothing to do with the National Police Service because it is an independent institution created by the Constitution. Yes, it shows that there is not only confusion. And I fear if I said that there are people who are quietly asking whether the president is okay. Is President William Ruto okay? Do we invoke Article 144 to ask for the firmity or the orderliness of Ruto's well-being? Because the statement is giving the actions of his people that he trusts most. Look at what has happened in the last 1 week. His personal assistant, who everyone knows is deprived of some academic, basics, is parading female members of parliament, and particularly from certain areas where they think that support has depreciated, and parading them before children, before communities, in public, and describing their sexualities, objectifying leaders who are in parliament, and themselves just succumbing and submitting to the whimsical directives of the personal assistant of the president. If you want to know the character of a person, look at his or her friends, who are his or her companions. I dare say that today the greatest worry has even been amplified by international media, like the article that came last week from The Economist, the reputable Economist magazine, is William Ruto okay? If you hear old women, if you hear even children wondering and asking that, then it means there is a concern that needs to be checked. And that is a national question.
I have to ask, Kabando, even as our minutes run down, because we can be prescriptive. We know that if there is a general feeling that there are certain things that are not going right, and we know what should be done, and we know how we should comport and carry ourselves. The question is, who bells the cat? Who insists that this behavior then be adopted and practiced and becomes part of culture again, lest we forget where we have come from and lest we forget where we should be going? Who then? Or is it all of us? Is it a collective responsibility to continue having the conversations, to continue reminding ourselves to make that decision when you go to the ballot? Who essentially is responsible for making sure that behavior is restored?
Super question and great posture. Yesterday, policeman Baraza was in court alone. The policeman who pulled the trigger in view of live media in CBD, Boniface Kariuki, the mask hawker, he was alone. Who will bell the cat? The police force, the police service, the women and the men in uniform can see that when it comes to seeking justice, you are left alone. The president will not be with you. The CS will not be with you. Neither you are inspector general or immediate bosses or your colleagues. Your colleagues will turn to state witnesses alone. Now, who will bell the cat? Where we have gone, we have seen barricading of highways. We have begun barricading around Parliament and around even the State House. The cat will be belled by the people of the Republic of Kenya, fortunately inspired and orchestrated by the gallant Gen Zs. This is accepted by oldest, by those senior citizens, that the revolution initiated by the Gen Zs, our young men and women who are non-violently and fearlessly and without being captives of ethnic prejudices, have come out and they are saying they have nothing to lose. They have disobeyed calls to suffocate their voice, and they have dared the regime. And as things stand now, the next call that will come, which may be very much ahead of 2027, even as we seek to have elections then democratically. Article 1 of the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya invokes power to the people. And therefore, the uprising, the way things are and how the situation is today cannot be stopped. It is not stoppable because there isn't any indicator or any visible design that those in authority have the senses of hearing, of seeing, of feeling, or even of thoughts about what needs to be done, because they are incapable of reform and they are blind to the reality. Then, as in Bangladesh and other countries, non-violent uprising for people to take back their country could easily be the outcome.
Kabando Wakabando, thank you so much for joining us this morning again. Again, we look forward to having you here for a longer period, and so we know that that time comes soon. But thank you for being candid with Lest We Forget this morning yet again. Asante Sana.
Next time you call me, I'll be there physically.
Fantastic. Great to hear. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Udo.
Good morning.
Asante. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.